One of the biggest questions any of us ever ask is, what is God's will for my life? It's huge, right? But that phrase, the will of God, can feel, well, a little fuzzy, kind of mysterious. So today, we're going to become linguistic detectives and go straight to the source to see if we can crack this case. So, what does the Bible actually mean when it talks about God's will? Well, to figure this out, we're diving right into the original Greek of the New Testament. And here's the thing. It turns out there isn't just one word for will, there are several. And once you understand them, it's like finding a secret key that unlocks a much, much deeper meaning. Our investigation begins with our very first clue. So our first clue is the noun that's really at the heart of this whole thing, Thelema. Now, this is the word you'll probably see translated as will most often, but as you're about to see, its real meaning is so much richer than just a simple command or a plan. What's so fascinating here is just the sheer range of meanings. Thelema isn't just some predetermined plan. It also carries this idea of desire, of intention, and even what brings someone pleasure or joy. You can almost think of it as the what, the actual substance of the will itself. And believe me, this word is a big deal. It shows up 62 times in the New Testament. Now, when a word appears that often, you know it's not just a passing thought. It's a central theme that's woven through the entire story of Scripture. And we see this play out perfectly in one of the most famous prayers ever. When Jesus says, "Your Thelema be done," he's not just talking about following an instruction. No, he's talking about God's grand overarching purpose for the entire cosmos, his whole plan, coming to life right here, right now on Earth. So you can see that Thelema really has two sides to it. On the one hand, it's God's determined sovereign plan, the things that are set in stone and are absolutely going to happen. But on the other hand, it's his delighted desire, what he finds good and pleasing, like when we grow in character. It's both a blueprint and a heartfelt wish. Okay, so if Thelema is the what, the plan itself, what about the how? What does the actual action of willing or desiring something look like? Well, for that, we need to look at our second clue, the verb, Thelo. The Thelo is all about the action. It's the engine of choice. When you see this word, you should think of that internal motion of wanting something, that personal desire behind a decision. It's not the plan, but the wanting of the plan. And man, this idea of wanting and desiring, it is everywhere in the New Testament. Thelo appears a whopping 207 times. That just goes to show how much the Bible talks about the choices, the wishes, and the willingness of both God and people. Oh, this passage just paints such a brilliant picture of the stello. The man with leprosy doesn't ask, hey, is it part of the grand plan? No, he asks about Jesus' personal desire. Are you willing? And Jesus' response uses that very same active verb, I am willing. It's just this powerful, personal expression of desire and the choice to act on it. Okay, so let's put our first two clues on the table and see how they stack up. Thelema is the noun, it's the thing itself, the plan or the desire. Thelo is the verb, the active choice behind it. One is the what, the other is the let's do it. Now for our third and final clue. And this one really raises the stakes. If Thelema is God's plan and Thelo is his desire, what do you call the ultimate, unchangeable, set from eternity master plan? For that, the Bible has a very special word, proorizo. You can just feel the weight of this word, can't you? Proorizo means to decide something completely in advance, to predetermine the outcome. This isn't just a wish or a general direction. This is the blueprint that was drawn up before time even began. And get this, here's what makes this word so incredibly powerful. It only shows up 6 times in the entire New Testament, just 6. Its rarity is a giant flashing sign pointing to its significance. When the biblical writers pull out proorizo, they are making a very specific, very profound statement about God's ultimate purpose. It's pretty cool, actually. The word itself tells you exactly what it means if you just break it down. It's made of 2 parts, pro, which means before, and horizo, which means to set a boundary or to define. In fact, this is where we get our English word horizon. So proorizo literally means to set the boundaries beforehand. And this verse right here from Ephesians, wow, it brings it all together. Because it uses 2 of our clue words. It shows us that God's proorizo, his pretemporal, unchangeable decree of adoption, wasn't some cold, robotic calculation. No, it was done in accordance with his thelema, his pleasure, and his delightful will. You have the master plan and the joyful desire working in perfect harmony.
And this leads us to what might be the most crucial detail of all. Proorizo is a divine word. In the New Testament, it is only used for God. See, humans can have a thelema, a will, and they can Thelo, they can desire things. But only God can proorizo. Only He can define the horizon from the very beginning.
All right, our detective work is done. We've gathered all our clues. We have the noun, we have the verb, and we have the divine master plan. Now it's time to put all the pieces together and finally solve the mystery of what the will of God really means. So let's lay it all out nice and clear. Think of it like a pyramid. At the very top, the absolute peak, you have proorizo, God's exclusive, eternal, unchangeable decree. Flowing down from that is his Thelema, his overall plan and his good pleasure. And then the active desire to see that plan come about is expressed by the verb Thelo. You can see it's a spectrum, from the eternal blueprint all the way down to a specific wish.
So we've been digging into some ancient Greek words. But why? Why does any of this actually matter for us, right here, right now? What's the big takeaway from all of this? It matters because it gives us incredible clarity. It helps us finally distinguish between God's absolute, unchangeable decree, the proorizo, and his revealed desire for how we should live, his Thelema. We can finally stop confusing what is guaranteed to happen with what God wishes we would do. And that kind of clarity can fundamentally change how we read the Bible and even how we see God himself. So, I'll leave you with this to think about. Now that you can see these different shades of meaning, how does knowing the difference between God's personal desire and his sovereign decree, how does that change the way you approach the Bible, or maybe even life itself? It's a distinction that can unlock everything.